Welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast. My name's Dad Bod. How you doing today? It's Friday. I'm so excited you're here spending your hour or whatever with me. First, we're going to head over to the LeBrant Fam Snark Reddit page where there's an Ask Me Anything a family vlogger kid did. Very, very eye-opening. We're going to look at this video from TikTok Advocate about what's going on in this House Bill 1627, I think it is. We're going to look at the bill. We're also going to look at the Surgeon General's words on how early is too early for social media for children. It is a very important topic, so don't go anywhere. But first, we're going to spin the wheel. We're going to do a little dancey dance. All of my higher tiered members and Patreons get to be on this wheel every Friday, except for the last Friday of the month, which is every member. So if you are any tier above the first tier, you get to be on this wheel. Your chances are a little better that you're going to win. Then you'll win a shirt and some prizes and some snacks and stuff like that. So if your name gets called, congrats. Let's dance. ERAS 5797, you win a prize. Reach out to me, Josh, at thedadchallengepodcast.com, and I will hook you up. Oh, I need your shirt size too. Anyway, let's go. So if you're new to the Dad Challenge podcast channel, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. One of the things we do here is snark to raise awareness. What does that mean? We make fun of people who exploit children. Now, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's a lot of people's cup of tea. And we have cups of tea together frequently. But sometimes on my videos, it's really not about making fun of people, and it's really about getting down to the nitty-gritty about what we're doing here. Overall, my channel is a lot of things. You know, I talk about my life, I talk about the exploitation of children, I'll have some fun, and every once in a while, I'll do a video that's really, really important. And it just hits. And today's video is probably going to be like that. And before we get to like the nitty gritty of the law that is about to change, hopefully, I want to read you guys an Ask Me Anything. If you go to Reddit, you see these things called AMAs. People are like, what's that? It's an Ask Me Anything. And so on this one specifically, it's the LeBrant Fam Snark page, which has 34.8 thousand mean girls, which is kind of funny, which are snarkers, people who go to discuss the LeBrant Fam and how bad they are. I'm sure there's a couple of fans in there. I'm sure the LeBrants are in there themselves. But they had an AMA, and it goes like this. So, hey, snarkers, we're excited to announce that our latest AMA will be happening on January 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. Be sure to mark your calendars. Our Ask Me Anything guest is a teen who is part of an extremely popular YouTube family of vloggers. Our guest wishes to discuss what life is like growing up in a YouTube family and how it has affected him/her. While we will not be sharing anything identifying for obvious reasons, we do want to confirm that the family channel we'll be discussing does in fact have many, many millions of followers. It's a big one. It's a big deal right now. And the identity of our guest has been positively verified. So they won't do these Ask Me Anythings without verifying the source, which is great. And that could be a lot of provable things. They could have a conversation with them. Maybe they have a receipt, a photo, something that they can verify with. So it's not fake. It says, please read. You may begin posting questions immediately, but they won't be answered until January. So people asked all their questions before this kid came into the chat. And from what I gather, this kid is a minor. So the thread's already been locked, but I want to go through this because we've done a couple of these. And it's different than this. I don't think that this person's coming in here to just throw everybody into the bus, but just answer genuine questions that people have. And it was actually a really good thread. And I've read the whole thing last night in bed. So it goes like this. How different are your parents on camera compared to off camera? And the person says, I mean, on camera, they are basically non-existent. I don't know what that means. So I think they would say, I mean, off camera, they are basically non-existent. When they are on camera, everything is an act. They have way too much energy and smile, way too much. They also don't swear as much. Obviously, I'd say it's a pretty big difference. So basically what we all knew, and we knew that. But it's good to hear and be justified in what we think, right? So these people are absolutely fake assholes when the camera's turned on compared to who they really are. We know that. Obviously, no one's like that in real life. What's the scariest fan interaction you've had? If you're not comfortable answering, that's completely fine. You've had enough choices taken away. Sorry, and hopefully this post will help open some eyes. Oh boy, where do I even start? The online ones are pretty bad, but at least people don't seem to harass me in person. I've been stalked before, which is pretty bad. That's crazy. And the parents knew this, by the way. Other family channels I know have actually had to move due to stalking situations, which is horrible. At least it didn't get that bad for me. Sounds like you were stalked, though. And I think that they're diminishing it. I think their parents might have told them that it's not a big deal and they've just been fed a whole bunch of bullshit lies. So that's a big deal. If you've been stalked because of your online personality that your parents put out there without your consent, that's a big deal. Now, what I think this person is talking about is probably Roman Atwood, who's had to move, I think, maybe twice because of stalking and people breaking into their home and breaking into their security systems and everything else. And yet continues to not care. Like when you're stalked, and I'm not saying that you should allow stalking to stop you from doing things, because I'm stalked a lot. Absolutely, get a lot of hate messages and death threats. And there's this one particular person who thinks they're like literally anonymous, like the group anonymous, and that person is like everywhere. Like, and she is a stalker. And so, but I'm not going to stop what I'm doing because of that. But I'm not saying that family vloggers should stop doing and trying to make money online. I'm saying they should stop exploiting their children and giving away their privacy and putting them in danger. I think that goes without saying. Do you get any privacy? Are you allowed to go to school and have friends? I go to public school. I'm actually getting the better end of kidfluencing here in that respect. I have friends and support outside the channel, which is really great. My parents tend to be pretty controlling over my friendships though, which sucks, and I'm not allowed to be on any school publications or announcements for fear of being doxxed. This is the life. Again, this kid didn't ask for this life, everybody. The parents make millions doing this, and the kid doesn't get a choice. And they have to live their life like this against their will. Do your parents force you to film, or do you have a choice in how much of it is staged? I get asked to film sometimes, and sometimes I don't. That last part's all you need to hear. As soon as you hear that, and we know they all do that, that makes it wrong. And you're done. Generally, if I'm super, and I mean really sick, I don't have to film. That's crazy. Which is cool, but also kind of incentivizes me to get sick and injured. As for staged content, I'd say majority of the content is for sure staged, and even non-staged vlogging is super draining. I mean, you don't want to get injured because then they'll use that for content. So maybe they've learned that at an early age. Someone will get hurt on purpose. Well, let's film that then. That's content. So you're saying that you're forced to film and only ask sometimes if you want to. I'm sorry, and I hope when you're old enough, you can get out of the house that you start to heal. This one's pretty dark, but have you ever talked to your parents about being concerned of online pedos? Yes. An almost weekly discussion in our house, which is sad. I'm very concerned about it. They seem to be not as bothered because they don't see it as much as I do. Oh my God, if your child is coming to you and they are having a conversation with you and they're minors about how they're concerned with pedos and you brush them off, Plutos are definitely a real problem with almost all child YouTube channels. Yes, I agree. And the parents know about it and just like mine, choose not to do anything about it. Now, this person is obviously a minor, doesn't want to come out, and is probably going to, make themselves known once they get to leave this place. That line right there is going to come back to haunt this family when they are outed for doing this. They know about it and do nothing about it. Knowingly put their child in danger. Money matters more. There it is. You don't need any more proof. If you ask for something to be kept private from YouTube, is that respected? I mean, not really. I haven't really pushed it, but anytime I've asked, my parents have immediately gone on the defensive. They try to defend why the content is actually okay. I have the backbone of a spaghetti noodle, so I never argue. Yeah, that's because they've groomed you to be this person. It's futile to argue about this. But they go on the defensive and tell you why the content is actually okay. Who is that family vlogger we talked about where they said this is the reason why we want to show, I think it was the Weiss life, where the daughter was convinced that we're going to show the leg shaving and everything because there's a lot of single dads out there who don't know how to do this. We're going to talk about periods and all that stuff because a lot of single dads need to know about this. That's how they convinced this 16-year-old girl to talk about her period and shaving her legs and bikinis and shit. That's what they did. That's the Weiss life who did that. And I have an inside source, not the dad, another inside source about the Weiss life. So that's it. They tell them, oh, it's for single dad. Could you imagine saying, well, this is for single men out there. They need to see this. And that's what you're going to say? Okay. What is one thing you love and or regret the most about YT fam life? What will you say to someone your age who aspires to be an online celebrity? I love the opportunity to travel. I grew up in a generally poor area where most people had never left the state, so that was fun when I went on vacations, practically every 3-day weekend. As for regret, probably something to do with content being out there for people to abuse. Some of those old posts were gross. Let me ask you a question for people who have actually followed family vloggers and have stopped or still do. If you watch back on the content, after knowing what you know now, how many of those innocent things that you saw turn into something like, oh shit? How much content is out there about these children that they're going to be embarrassed about? Right? That's the only question you have to ask. And if there is any, those parents. If you aspire to be a celebrity, don't your parents take control of it? Wait, Some of those old posts were gross. If you aspire to be a celebrity, don't let your parents take control of it. Don't do it for money, and think through every action. A post is out there forever. And that's really telling. This child's very smart, by the way, and knows that the internet's forever, and says don't let your parents control it. But these kids who are in these family vlogs, they don't have a choice. Their parent controls everything, including the narrative, including what you put out there. The personal shit that you get to put out there, you don't get to choose that. This kid is admitting that. When and how did you find out that all the family's videos were a source of income? Did this knowledge alter your perspective at all in family vlog activities? Very good question. I think I started noticing when both my parents quit their jobs, but honestly, it all started so long ago, I don't remember much my thoughts about the whole ordeal. So this kid's been online basically their whole life. That's so bad. Have you ever felt like you have to be in vlogs even when you didn't want to because you know how your family makes money? Because you know it's how your family makes money? And in the same vein, have you ever been bribed to be in a vlog? Yes, there have been times I've been out of vlogs for school, sickness, extracurricular activities, and I felt bad about it. And I felt like it was a slippery slope to losing all our money and having to live below the poverty line again. So that is, again, this isn't a kid just thinking that. That is the parents putting that in their kid. We're going to be poor. We'll live below the poverty line again. We're going to be poor again if you don't do this. That kid is being coerced. And this is what happens. Every single one of them. Anybody who has kids on any age level knows how hard it is for kids to do anything you really want them to do. These faked vlogs and all the shit that you watch are all fake, guys. And so you have to literally coerce children into doing it, or groom them, or abuse them to do it. So they're to point like, Tia Nia, which is not her real name, by the way, I found out. You have to abuse them. I had someone reach out to me behind the scenes and, take it with a grain of salt, because I can't confirm if it's true or not, but she does hit her kid a lot. That's what this person said, allegedly. And also, yes, ashamed to say I've taken bribes, or close to bribes. Proud to say I once turned down a $100 bribe. By the way, the bribe I did take was not money. And you know what? You should not be ashamed. That's not your fault. You're a kid. That's on your parents. I can't wait to find out who these people are in the end. They should be, you know what? I wonder if the parents read these, because they do. And I wonder if they think it's their child. And I hope that nobody finds out, because that kid could be in danger, by the way. Of being abused, of being gaslit, of being punished for just telling the truth. It's so scary that they have to come online as anonymous people to actually tell the truth and get a little bit of therapy and tell people what's really going on. Isn't that the scariest thing you've ever heard? That's like a whistleblower for the government. They have to stay anonymous so they're safe. What made you decide to do this AMA? Was there a tipping point that made you frustrated with your life being filmed? I've been pretty pissed off about it for like 8 years at least. But this year, with all the stuff coming out with Jeanette McCurdy and kidfluencer laws getting pushed, I figured it was time to do something. And you know what? It's not on you, but congratulations for being a freaking brave hero, because that's what you're doing here is heroic. Thank God for Jeanette McCurdy's book, which I also read, and you guys should all read. Go buy it and read it. Oh my God. I think it's inspiring a lot of people in that industry to wake up. Jeanette McCurdy's book is so refreshing, scary, but refreshing. Go read it. And thank God. So it sounds like Jeanette McCurdy inspired this young person to come out and talk about this. Thanks. And again, young person, hero. And you know why you're a hero? It's because you're actually speaking up, which then might stop this from happening to other people. Even though it's not your responsibility, you're doing it anyway, and you deserve kudos for it. How accurately do your family videos portray real life in your household? Is it authentic? It's a show for sure. Almost all family videos are like that. And if they're accurately portraying their life, it's almost even worse from a lack of privacy. I agree. Is there something that the other adults in your life could do to help you make your situation better? Not much they can do legally, unless they can help me find proof of labor trafficking. So this kid is absolutely admitting right now that they think they have been labor trafficked. Like they are working and shouldn't be. That's what they're saying. This kid is saying it. There are kids I know where I think they could find some legitimate proof, so those situations are easier to get away from. But my situation is very nuanced and enragingly just barely legal. It's not legal. And I think if you took a look at your state's child labor laws, and if you're signed to a Coogan account, or if your parents are following any of those rules, if they follow any of the rules, and they should be anyway, and if they're not, they're breaking the law both ways. But if they are following any of the rules because they want to avoid that, they're still breaking child labor laws. If I can suggest anything, like I do to all these children, is to document everything you remember and start journaling everything going forward. Okay? Document every minute you are in a video so you can know what you're owed. Okay? And then document every moment you've been coerced or bribed into doing something. Make sure you have written proof in your own journaling, in your own timeline of what is happening, especially going forward. That will save you a lot of heartache, and it will be able to hold your shitty parents accountable. How are your parents saving for the children's future? If they're not, what's the excuse? They are saving, at least for college and retirement. I've also heard some talk of salary that I'm earning that I can't access right now, but I haven't seen proof of that at all. Still, if I wanted to go to medical school, I still might have to take out a loan, which is ridiculous considering the amount of money we make yearly. And if you have millions of subscribers on YouTube, you make millions of dollars a year. Easily. Take your sub count, add a couple of zeros, is probably what you make in a year. Seriously. So if you have like the Brants at their peak, 12, 15, 16 million followers, probably pulling in like $2 to $3, $4, $5 million a month. And that's bananas. So these people have millions of subscribers. And she's like, I think I have that. So it sounds like your parents do have something. But then if they do, they are absolutely breaking child labor laws, and they are anyway. Did your parents make an Instagram account for you when you were young that they marketed you on, like Sav does to Ev? They reserved accounts that never posted on, which is kind of funny now that I look back. But boy, am I glad they're not like the LeBrants in that respect. Do you plan on having your own YouTube channel one day if you don't already? At this point, I don't know. I think I'll have social media as it's impossible to avoid these days. But it won't be for followers or money. It'll just be for me and my relatives' friends. I want to work for my money and get away from all the attention. And finally be seen for the person I am, not for the person I pretended to be online. And again, it's not your fault. You didn't pretend to be that. Your parents pretended you to be that. Your parents wrote that for you. This person is taking way too much blame for something they had no control over and is not their fault whatsoever. How do people treat you at school? Have you ever had something that happened on the channel used as a way to pick on you? Have teachers mentioned or acknowledged it? People are mainly okay with it. They think it's cool or just random fact that I can use for 2 truths, 1 lie. I don't know what that is. But there's some guys who really get under my skin who used to harass me every single day about how horrible my videos and pictures were, even though I had literally no say in them. So again, this person is diminishing what they've gone through, and that's fine. That's their narrative. But if I'm reading between the lines, the answer is yes. There were some guys who really got under my skin who used to harass me every single day about how horrible my videos and pictures were. Do you get a cut of the profits? Part of this I answered before, but do you get a cut of the profits from the YouTube videos? If your parents save it for you, are you ever worried they aren't actually giving it, or that they'll refuse to give it to you if you decide not to be on camera? Part of this I've answered in previous responses, but I really like the second part of this question. I do worry a lot about if they are actually lying to me, or if I make a wrong move, or the money would just go down the drain. So thanks for asking. So this person is scared if they don't comply, they will lose the money that they've earned. And again, let me tell you, person, if you are watching this, and I hope you are, you earned it. It's yours. And you can sue your parents for that. As soon as you turn 18, probably could do it now if you wanted to. All you really need to do is go to your YouTube channel. I know it's probably going to take a lot of work. Maybe get some friends and family to help you and document every moment you are on that channel. Anytime your name is mentioned, anytime you're in a thumbnail, document make sure you write down the number of views it has. If you can get to the back end of your YouTube channel, you can sort through how much money the channel has made. You can even get screenshots of that stuff. You need to protect yourself, and that's how you can do it. Document everything. It is yours, regardless whether or not they want to give it to you or not. It is owed to you. Are your parents very controlling over the family brand? Like, do they try to control the clothes you wear or the friends you have to make sure it's not on brand? My friends usually aren't in the videos, with few exceptions, so that's not really a concern. Clothes are. Every day I ask myself, is this clothing a copyrighted logo? Is it too distracting from the video? Is it too revealing? Is it too controversial? In that same vein, I can't talk about anything controversial: human rights, politics, COVID, religion, LGBTQ, mental illness on the vlogs. If you're comfortable answering, how did you find this Reddit? I was checking to see if people were posting on Reddit about my family, and I stumbled upon snark Reddits. Not a snark on my family, and I followed a ton. So these kids are all following this, by the way. I found out this one did AMAs and got excited and messaged. Awesome. And I'm glad you did. Assuming you have siblings, does the vlogging affect your relationship with them? I'm lucky we're so close, but sometimes we'll all agree something we filmed is messed up and we'll just be super awkward around each other for a while. That sounds bad. That they force you to do something where then it forces you guys to act awkward around each other? What? What do your parents think they have planned for your future versus what you want to do or have planned? Do you have to get away from them and lead a more private life? Do you want to get away from them and lead a more private life? My parents want me to go to college and get a job, which I'm also planning to do. Just probably with some advocacy for kids like me in the middle of that. Good for you. Yes, I really want to move away as soon as I can. I've looked into so many colleges by now, it's insane. This person is saying they want to leave. That should speak, if this kid, I know this kid is scared, but this kid has options and they can call people to get out of this place. If this kid really wants to leave, there are programs and people that can help you do that. What would happen if you told your parents you don't want a video or be a part of the vlogs? They used to yell at me. Then it would turn to bargains and bribes with ice cream or money. Now I just don't ask to stop. Unbelievable, these people. These people exist. Okay, everybody's just, you get to see how the sausage is made, and if you continue to watch these people, why? You're hearing from the children, the actual victims of this shit. Family vlogging creates victims. Every child that is on a family vlog, I don't care if they look like they're having fun, if they're rich, I don't give a shit. They are all victims of exploitation, which is abuse. Do your parents show obvious favoritism to you and your siblings? I mean, I don't really know, but my siblings think so. They've told us that one of us is the best actor before, but let's be honest, that changes like every week. Are you okay? Do they let you go to therapy? What, in your opinion, is the best way for people to support you and other kids being forced into this world? Bring awareness. I am now clinically and technically okay. I'm in therapy, though. I'm not allowed to go to group therapy for fear my mental illness will get outed online. Holy shit. I think people are doing well when they post about it or write about it. I would love to see more creative works, poetry surrounding the subject. My personal favorite is some of the legal advocacy going on right now. Let's pray the bill gets passed, which we're going to talk about in a second. If you have children one day, would you be okay with them going through something similar? No way. Not on my watch. I generally don't plan on having children, but I honestly wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I think there are pros and cons, but a lot of the pros could also be achieved by getting a good job and even better than influencing a stable career. If I was a parent, I would make sure my kids didn't have to work to eat. There's the line, everybody. If I was a parent, I would make sure my kids didn't have to work to eat. That's all these people. That's all of them. They rely on their children to eat, to pay bills, to buy their lavish lifestyles, to live their best life. It's all on the kids. And assholes. Do your parents push you to film, talk about aspects of your life on camera that you aren't comfortable with? Actually, no, which is great. I do have to advertise for merch, social media all the time though, which I personally hate, but it's not personal. What was the point where you realized that what your parents are doing is not right? I think there was a point a couple years back when I went, hey, I really hate every moment of this. Like, it physically repulsed me to film because I was so sick of it. Anyway, I chose to ignore it for a couple years during COVID, during which I got really depressed and then healed. And now I'm back to better than ever. So this kid is admitting outright, and have probably said this to their parents, I hate every moment. It physically repulses them to do this. And parents don't care. If your child came to you and you were doing something with them, an activity or whatever that says, it physically repulses me to do this activity, are you going to force your kid to do that? No, you're not. Was there a point in your life when you enjoyed making these videos for and having fans? I honestly hated making most videos unless I got toys or got to show off my creations. Some videos were not only exhausting to make, but also physically painful. Holy shit. I also hated and still hate having fans and having to meet them in public. I'm the most socially awkward person I know, and I lock up every time I see a fan, which is horrible when I have to do meet and greets. And these parents know this child hates that. And they force them to do meet and greets. Do you post on private accounts? Is social media something that you like in moderation, but don't like on a mass scale? I have such a fun time on more anonymous socials like Reddit or Tumblr, but I think everything should be done in moderation. And honestly, I would be happy if I never had to see an Instagram post again. This is a very smart person. Are there any positives being a YouTube kid? Travel. Sometimes we got candy, cool clothes, feeling important. Some people, including me, get money for their work. Good in the moment, kind of sucky. I mean, that should be every kid. Should get candy and toys and feeling important. Shouldn't have to be on a YouTube channel to get that. I'm not blaming this kid. I'm just saying that sucks for you. Do you use social media? Do your parents have expectations for your social media use? Whether you must make a public following or you're not allowed at all. Actually, despite me being posted on the internet since I was 2, I actually wasn't allowed to have social media until I was 13. And even then, my parents didn't want me to post anything too controversial, and I have to show them everything before I post. I never do, she says. It's incredibly hypocritical for them to say you can't post anything without their consent when they've posted so much about you without yours. Really good point. Do you personally feel like you've been exploited? Very hard question to answer, but I'd say yes. And I'd concur with you. 100% yes, you've been exploited. I was forced into a career I didn't understand, to do things I didn't understand and didn't want to do. But I guess I got some money of it. Doesn't matter. And I know you're saying this, you're trying to be nice. You were 100% exploited. Have you been on social media your whole life? Basically, yeah. Not technically, though. I just can't remember a time before it. That's so sad. Did any adult in your life ever try to intervene and try to help you / the kids get out of this situation by addressing your parents? My lovely therapist tried and failed. I love her, though. So the therapist was like, this is bad for you. Let's see if your parents will stop. The therapist had a conversation with the parents, a therapist, a doctor. And they said, no thanks, to a doctor. How did your family get into family vlogging? I think they just caught up in the craze, but I have my suspicions that they may have helped create the craze in the first place. So it sounds like this kid has been on the internet for over 10 years. And I'm not saying go find it, but it does narrow it down to who this is. Thanks for sharing. Family vloggers all the time say they do this to create home videos for later to look back on. Do you think with your family that's actually true, or is it more just for money clout? Do you, or will you look back on the videos you made? Oh, it's definitely for money. We all hate watching old videos because they're fake as fuck. There it is. Oh, they're for memories. And this person I've never even thought about that. We hate watching them because they're fake. So all these memories they're putting on the internet, they're fake, everybody. They're not genuine memories. They're made for social media to make money. And they're forced, if anything, maybe not fake, but forced. So they're not making memories. You kidding me? I hate that excuse too. This is the one big one here. Do you have plans to go no contact with your family after leaving the house? And as you can hear, this person is very generous and they're very graceful and they're not trying to throw their family under the bus, but listen to this answer. It's only my biggest goal, LOL, but I actually look forward to being able to cut them off after I move out. That right there is all you need to know about family vlogging. I look forward to being able to cut them off when I move out. This person is literally a prisoner in their own home. And there are no rules. CPS can do nothing about it. This person needs a family member to step in and take them out of this house. I said it. They need to find a way to legally emancipate themselves from this family. They don't want to be there. Sounds like they're 16, 17, or 18 years old. They are literally trapped in a place where they're forced to do something they don't want to do. That should be fucking illegal. What's the hardest thing for you being raised this way? Do you feel you missed out on things? And this is going to go back to yesterday's video about Just Fam saying, my kids are living their best life. Why don't you ask what your kids want? Because look at this answer. I've missed school for shoots before, but I think the worst is not knowing who I really am. What if these kids want to get an education? That's a very, very telling Ask Me Anything. A lot of great answers. That kid is very smart. Thank you so much for doing that. Again, it takes a massive amount of bravery to do what you just did there. Next, we're going to take a look at TikTok Advocate's video, who's really been one of these big voices against child exploitation online. And she's amazing at what she does. Just like Mom Uncharted, they are very nice. I'm not like them. If you don't like snark and all that stuff, they go to them. They're amazing. But I want you to watch this because it's really, really important.
Stop. What is this? This is House Bill 1627 in the Washington State Legislature. An act related to protecting the interests of minor children featured on for-profit family vlogs.
I need to stop her there because right there, and I think we did read this a little while ago. Maybe not. Maybe this is a different one. This looks like it's a different one. Oh shit, it is a different one. This is awesome. But read there. Featured for-profit family vlogs. They're using language that matters. Vlogging is like a relatively new term. And so finally we're catching up and they're using the proper language, which is absolutely important.
The legislature finds that social media influencers can make significant amounts of money from the digital content they produce. Some influencers use their minor children as subjects of the content. Those children are generating interest in and revenue for the content, but receive no financial compensation for their participation.
Which, again, this bill talks about the financial for the participation, but I don't care if they get paid. Because a lot of people, well, I pay your kids. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I don't give a shit if they get paid. You're still doing it without their consent.
Unlike in child acting, these children are not playing a part and lack legal protections. The legislature finds that social media influencers who market video content of their families or vloggers can profit from the personal property rights of their children without restriction. Some children are filmed with highly personal details of their lives shared on the internet for compensation from birth. In addition to a severe loss of privacy, these children receive no consideration for the use and exchange of their personal property rights.
Boom!
As one of
Boom!
many individuals who has heard from minors of family vlogging accounts asking us to make this possible, it's time. This is not a witch hunt on family vlogging. This is
Mine's a witch hunt on family vlogging. Yep.
An attempt to put the same legal protections in place for children of family vlogging accounts that we see for child actors, where their consent, safety, and monetary growth are not exploited but respected and protected. We talk a lot about online safety on this account and how a child's likeness is being misused. Many of the minors that I've spoken to from family vlogging accounts have expressed how unsafe they feel.
She is, and she's spoken to a lot. I've spoken to a few too. Some of the ones that have done these Ask Me Anythings, they've reached out to me too, and I've spoken to them. They just asked me not to tell you who they are, and I won't. But these kids, imagine having to reach out some fat Canadian dad from Canada because you have no one else to talk to. That's it breaks my heart every single time. Imagine Rika, TikTok advocate, or Mom on Chart, or these people. That shouldn't be the case. Your parents should be protecting you, and they're not. And this bill is good. Don't get me wrong, it's great. It's not going far enough. I think you shouldn't even be able to put kids on the internet at all, even for money, because it's still using them. They still don't get to tell their story or their narrative at all.
From being over-sexualized in their comments and DMs to their identity being stolen. And many of these minors have been threatened with non-disclosure agreements from their own parents.
And she knows this for a fact, and so do I. But hear me out, kids out there who are watching this, who are part of family vlogs. If your parents forced you to sign a non-disclosure agreement inside your home for that, I'm pretty sure that's illegal anyway, and that shit wouldn't stand. Sue them for it. What are they going to do? Sue you? How could a parent literally get a kid to sign a non-disclosure agreement? I cannot believe, and she's right, and I know this for a fact too, that these kids have signed non-disclosure agreements. I just can't prove it to you because these kids don't want you to tell them who they are because they're scared for their lives, people. So they have signed non-disclosure agreements, but I'm telling you here, that shit is not legal. You can't do it. If it's abuse or exploitation, they can't make you sign something. What happened with Harvey Weinstein? He made people sign, remember Catch and Kill? That's what they call it, Catch and Kill. They buy your story, they pay you off, you're not allowed to say anything. But it ended up being not legal for them to hold abusive and illegal things under non-disclosure agreements. So I'd reach out to a lawyer if I were you, if you have the opportunity. Okay, reach out to me, or TikTok advocate, or Mom Uncharted. I'll pay for you to go talk to a lawyer. Okay, those non-disclosure agreements will not stand. And even if they did, who cares? You literally think your parents are going to sue you? You think that's going to make them look good online?
So they don't publicly come forward with how this experience has really...
It's not their fault though. They're scared. That's why. They think that the people who get cease and desist letters and get sued and all this stuff, they get scared in submission. And that sucks because all of them do. And that really, really hurts me. Until they mess with the wrong person.
...been for them. To all of you I've spoken with, thank you for your bravery. And thank you endlessly to Chris McCarty of Quit Clicking Kids for making this bill possible. This is where we need your help. As usual, go here, right here, and you can comment your support on this bill.
So I want you guys to just see that real quick. So you go to Katie Rie on Instagram, and she's got that Washington State legislator. She's also called the TikTok advocate, I think. Yeah, the TikTok advocate on Instagram, and she's got that linked in her link tree, Washington State legislator. Make sure you go there, okay, everybody? I'll put it in my link below too.
And you can comment your support on this bill.
Please do this. Please do this. If you're following me and you're on board for this message, do me a favor, take the 5 minutes and go comment on this bill. Please, please do. Or tweet at the people responsible for doing this. Make sure their voice is heard. The louder it gets, the more they're going to be like, okay, we should do this. Because that's what motivates politicians.
This bill is currently being looked at by Washington State Civil Rights and Judiciary Committee. The more comments for support, the more likely it will get a hearing. And if you'd like to double down on your support, this is Drew Hansen, the individual that could make this hearing possible.
I already tweeted at him. Everybody tweet, contact Drew Hansen. There's his address. There's his phone number. Okay, 360-786-7842. Reach out to this guy.
Would you call his office and ask him kindly to give this bill a hearing? Hindsight always seems to be 20/20. What we think is okay now, in 10 years from now, we find is actually harmful.
No, we know now it's harmful. With what I just read, with who you've spoken to, with the roll-offs, with the 19 kids and counting, with everything. We know now this is harmful. Look at Johnny K +8. There's been multiple Ask Me Anythings. There's been multiple posts on Reddit from these kids who are actually in these families now. We know now. We've known. And we know because we have common sense. And we're parents. We know it's harmful. So it's not 10 years from now. Already now we know it's shit.
These children are ready for their stories to be heard. And they're ready for some protections.
Yeah.
Our voices are powerful in numbers, so we can make it possible.
Well, here's a couple of problems with it. Is that's just going to force parents to pay their kids. It's actually not going to stop the problem of exploitation because they're still being exploited for their stories and the parents are still making the lion's share of the money, right? There's so many loopholes around this bullshit. I love this bill because it is a start, but I think the next step needs to be minors cannot be used for content ever. And that would affect child actors, to be honest with you. It really would. And I think it should. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, because that's unheard of. That's unmentionable. Can't say that. We need kids in movies. Do we? Do we? I mean, I get it. I understand that. There's kid actors out there. I understand that industry. And the only, caveat of that is that at least those kids have a private life, right? They're acting, they're working, they're acting, they're protected. They get school. They're all, they have good lives for whatever. I don't think any of them do. I think they all come out bad in the end. But I'm just saying, yeah, it will affect that. I don't think that you should be able to, I don't think any child should be working ever until they're at least, 13. Something like that. Not work for money at all. Shouldn't be making money for your parents. Parents should not be able to use children whatsoever. I know that's a hard black and white stance. I'm sorry I'm doing it. Can you give me any reason why a child needs to be working and not living in childhood instead? Any reason? Could you tell me? And they might say, well, it's for art's sake and we wouldn't have the movies we have. And again, I'm guilty of watching movies with children in them too. Like there's so many movies out there that have children in them. And what does that mean for the future of film? And they'll never do it, obviously. But I'm saying, yeah, I take the hardline stance that there should never be a child working, paying parents' bills. Jeanette McCurdy is a perfect example of that too. So that being said, we're going to head over to this article real quick. I think this is all compounding into this conversation right now, and thank God it is. According to The Hill, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy on Sunday cautioned that despite many app guidelines, 13-year-olds are too young to join social media. And we're talking about just kids who are ingesting social media, not just the ones who are being exploited for it. That's just as bad. That's bad too. This is just kids who have it, who are watching it. What is a right age for a child to start using social media? I worry that right now, if you look at the guidelines from the platforms, that age 13 is when kids are technically allowed to use social media, and that is be on it, not just see it, but to be on it. But there are two concerns I have about that. One is I personally, based on the data I've seen, believe that 13 is too early, Murthy said on CNN's newsroom. We'll see that in a minute. Now, hear this out. And so you got to hear that out because all these platforms are like, we're so good because they're only allowed 13-year-old. You have to be 13 to be on this channel. When we know so many of these kids have been on that channel way before they're 13. That's why I'm going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer about this type of thing. Of all the things we just heard, is that, yeah, they'll do all this stuff, but parents will just find a fucking loophole. Because right now, you can have a newborn on Instagram, account ran by mom, account ran by parents, account ran by dad. And that just, okay, no worries then. You can have 6-year-olds with full-on abs in bikinis and in positions and shit like that with men commenting on it because it's a mom-ran account. Like, social media platforms don't give two shits about any of it. If they did, they wouldn't allow minors on the platform at all. And these kids are literally, their whole entire content is just kids. It's not like mom is in it too and it's ran by the mom. It's just the children. And the social media accounts did nothing to stop that. And so I personally think they're not going far enough here. At least some of them should say, look, no kid should be on. If the account is literally just the child, the minor in question, they're not allowed to have an account. Don't care if it says ran by mom. Why does that make it okay? It's so silly to me. This is an incredible, incredible thing. But the thing is that the industry itself doesn't want you to hear that. They want to be able to groom children, and social media is a perfect way to do it. And so let's watch this interview real quick on CNN.
But then there's, of course, the situations where, teens want to be on their phones, social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. You can join as long as you're 13 years old, these platforms. And the U.S. Surgeon General had this warning on CNN over the weekend. Take a look.
I personally, based on the data I've seen, believe that 13 is too early. And I think that it's a time, early adolescence, where kids are developing their identity, their sense of self. It's a time where it's really important for us to be thoughtful about what's going into how they think about their own self-worth and their relationships. And the skewed and often distorted environment of social media often does a disservice to many of those children.
Not often. I'd say 100%. 100%. Look, if you've ever scrolled on TikTok yourself or scrolled on Instagram or Facebook, like imagine you're a child who is very impressionable. The shit that's getting fed into your eyeballs. And if you just go down one path, let's say an adolescent kid, 13 years old, seeing, boobs and stuff like that, and just likes that, or goes, that is now fixing his algorithm, so that's all he'll ever see. Right? If a girl is going down beauty standards and likes the way a girl does makeup or whatever, and she likes that thing, and then that's where the algorithm starts switching, and then she is fed a steady diet of body dysmorphia for the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours she's on platform. This shit is so dangerous for adults. It's doubly dangerous for minors and children. So I agree with him.
So it's such an interesting point, Doctor. I have to say, I've got a very young child at home, so I'm not there yet. But I also, as a former teenage girl who went to middle and high school, I can't imagine having to deal with these platforms in that kind of a context. But obviously, all the kids are doing it. Parents have to fight with them to keep them off. I mean,
No, you don't fight with your children, everybody. Here's some unsolicited parenting advice. No, you make the f***ing rules. Your kids follow the rules. There's no fighting. Parent better. Develop bonds with your children so they trust you. There's no fighting about it. Yes, kids will be upset, fine. Okay? But you're just going to have to deal with that. You're not their friend. You're their protector. You're their guardian. You're not there to be like a buddy. You're there to make sure that they have a healthy upbringing, that they're not fed incessant amounts of bullshit into their eyeballs. They might hate you. They'll thank you later. My kids aren't going on social media until 16, 18. I already tell my daughter every day, just so you know, no social media. And I'm starting early. I'm saying it now, even it's a joke, so she'll get it. I'm starting it early.
How do they best find success? And if 13 isn't the right age, what is?
18.
Yeah. I think if you haven't started yet, do not start. I'm seeing now like factions of parents who kind of stick together and say, hey, we're just not going to do social media.
Yep.
And then I've seen these kids, follow these kids up until they're going to college, and they're in much better shape. They have higher self-esteem. They have a better sense of themselves. They're not looking for that external validation all the time. So if you haven't started, don't start. If you have started, you can still pull back. I just think, try to do it with another family to get rid of, to eliminate social media. I always say do a 4-week screen fast, no smartphones, no nothing. That will kind of reset the nervous system, and it also resets people's habits and what they're used to doing. And I can tell you, I do this with teenage girls all the time, and almost all of them say they feel relieved because there's so much pressure and it's so time consuming. So I think a lot of times we're so afraid that we're going to cut them off.
No, sorry. What you're afraid of is that you have to start being a parent. These people who allow their kids to spend hours on social media all day long, they're not good parents. Parent better. Once you give your kids alternatives, take them to activities, hang out with them maybe, have family conversations, do activities. I don't know. Lots you can do. The thing is, you look at Jess Fam, and you look at all these family vloggers like Dr. D Dozen and White's Life and all these kids, their escape is being on their phones, and that's their reward. And they are literally immersed in their phones like their parents are 24 hours a day because their parents are social media influencers. And so that's all they see, that's all they know. Now, I'm guilty of it too. I'm on my phone a lot because I do make money off this platform. Okay? But I absolutely am present with my children, and I make it a point. So when my kid wants to talk to me, my phone is down. I'm not distracted by it because I want to engage with my child. And I don't do it every time, but I make it a point to try my darndest. But those people who are just saying, well, I already started, too bad. You're still the parent. You still got to protect your kid. One more thing I want to look at. Okay, so I was listening to Morning Wire this morning, and I was going to do this episode anyway. And so this was perfect. You guys got to hear this.
In January, neuroscientists at the University of North Carolina found that social media use was associated with changes in brain function among adolescents.
And you can't argue with this shit, okay? We know that. As common sense people who have grown up with the internet like we have, we know that. This is common sense.
Here to give us the details is Daily Wire's Charlotte Pence-Bond. So Charlotte, tell us about this study.
Hi, Georgia. Neuroscientists at the University of North Carolina scanned the brains of young people ages 12 to 15. They wanted to see how brain development was affected by the amount of time they spent on social media when they were younger. The researchers asked them how often they checked social media, which included Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. They were on average around 12 to 13 years old when they were asked that.
I know they're doing this for tests, but if you allow your minor to be on Snapchat, jail. You should be in jail. The most dangerous platform for kids because of the predators and the way that it does things, sends and deletes shit.
So the usage was broken down into 3 categories: high or habitual checking, moderate, and low or non-habitual. Habitual checking was more than 15 times a day, moderate was 1 to 15 times, and low was 0 times. Then the researchers scanned the participants' brains each year for 3 years while the teens were completing an electronic exercise. At first, the kids who checked social media more often were less reactive to social feedback compared to kids who checked social media less. But over time, the pattern reversed, and the kids who were less active on social media became less sensitive to potential social cues as the other kids.
translated in this world of snowflakey things where people are offended by everything. Social media did that. We used to not be offended by everything. Everybody's like, well, what changed? Social media changed. It's now popular to be a victim of something, and so you look for something to be victimized by.
The bottom line is this. Kids who looked at their feeds a lot around the age of 12 became more sensitive to possible feedback from their social cohorts over time. Those who checked social media less often were not as sensitive.
So another translation was, those kids are getting the affirmations they want from the likes and everything else they're getting from social media. The kids who are not on that shit don't give a shit about that stuff, and their brains are different. They don't need the dopamine hits to continue on with their day. That's like heroin, people. This shit should be illegal for kids.
Eva Telzer, an author of the study.
So we know that the adolescent brain is highly sensitive to rewards. It's highly sensitive to social feedback. And so how might this interact with the ways that they're engaging on these online platforms in social media and digital media contexts? And does the brain then get shaped by those experiences? Because the brain itself is highly plastic and sensitive to its environment. The adolescent period is a huge time of brain development. It's second only to that we see in infancy.
Now, is there direct evidence that higher reactivity to social feedback is associated with mental problems?
It's just a hypothesis at this point, but there's a huge amount of research suggesting that social media use is harming teens.
Again, that's common sense. I know they have to be their news and they have to be all whatever. Of course it harms adults.
A teen study pointed out that depressive symptoms, suicide-related outcomes, and suicide rates shot up between the years of 2010 and 2015. This was particularly true for girls. A study from 2016 also found that social media use was significantly associated with increased depression in young adults ages 19 to 32.
Now knowing all that you know there, these are studies that have been done. We know this has been coming down the pike for a while. It just had to happen. Knowing that, you sure you want to have your kids on social media, even if they've been on there for a few years now? Right? Do you sure you want them on there? I know some people say it's impossible to get the kids off now. Maybe you're smart and maybe the kids are smart. But it affects kids. And it shouldn't be the one watching your children, by the way. You should be the one spending time with the kids. So all that we see there, lots of great news. But at the same time, you're just going to find people who can just skirt this shit. So they need to get bigger. They need to get sharper and bigger teeth to do these things. If I were in charge and I could do whatever I wanted, there would literally be no minors, no photos or videos of minors on any monetized channel. None. A lot of people are like, what's the difference between having to put my kid on there? Fine. Here's the difference. Do you make money off of your social media? Yeah? The answer is yes. And your kids are there? Wrong. Done. That's what I would change the rules. If you make money, it won't be off kids. No minors allowed on paid platforms. Done! That's the game right there, everybody. You have to disincentivize assholes from exploiting children. Otherwise, they're going to. Children are the most exploited people on our planet because they don't know how to protect themselves and they're easy to coerce. So that's why we need to protect them. And all these people out there doing this on these channels, they are not protecting the kids. They're exploiting them and they're making money doing it. And you can't argue with that. So that is an important video. Thank you for watching with me. Everybody take a huge breath. Make sure you reach out to that person that she said, no, I'll leave a link below as well. You got to do this. Guys, this is a fight that I'll spend 5-10 minutes writing an email or making a call. It's worth it. If you are on board to get these kids off this internet like I am, this is worth your time, and I appreciate you doing that if you do. So thank you so much. Thank you for TikTok Advocate. Thank you for all these people who are out here doing that. Thank you to the person who did the Ask Me Anything. You are super brave and amazing. And so are you for watching this. Incredible and valuable. Don't fly flare. Forgive yourself if you have to. And I will see you soon.